Hey guys, this is Yoda. Earlier today, my group timed the world first 18 theater. We had 0 deaths, slightly more than 30 seconds left, and we did it with a Holy Pally in the group. I'm going to play the VOD here. I'm pretty proud of this achievement considering we're down a few item levels from some of the Chinese groups, and we had to have a very, very clean run to time this key. And I think our route is very good too, so I figured I'd share it with everyone. We start off by pulling the Bloodhorn into the boss, just like everyone else. We are going to be focusing this Bloodhorn down. We want it to die before the third Raging Tantrum. The third one we found overlaps with some boss mechanics, so it's extremely deadly, which is why we try to kill it before the third Raging Tantrum. I believe our mage is hitting it. It's me, the Moonkin, and the DK that are hitting it, and then the damage is split a little bit to make sure we meet the check and also don't lose too much boss damage. You also notice we're kind of moving in a circle around the arena. That's kind of basic strategy for this boss since Passaran has an ability called Noxious Spores, which makes you drop poop. When you're dropping poop, you want to drop it like, in a circular manner so that you don't run out of space when you're fighting the boss. Other than that, just kick the boss. As a DH, especially if you're playing this Down in Flames build, you kind of want to have Fiery Brand up or meta at all times. If you don't, then it's going to be a little bit spicy. Just make sure you're watching your health. Make sure you're like pooling souls, have at least demon spikes up, and then like using soul cleave when you're actually taking damage. If you have spikes or meta, you don't need to worry about any of that. Just fucking push 1-2-1-2 and you'll be fine. All right, once this boss dies, we are going to go to the Xav wing. The reason for that is that usually you kill this boss at like about 3-minute mark, and then you have 7 minutes. And if you get to Xav, you want to lust Xav because Xav is like a boss that the longer he lives, the more he's sending people down. And then when he sends people down, you lose DPS. So it's better to lust Xav since the faster he dies, the less he's sending people down. Whereas the other bosses, like the faster they die, they still do die faster, but it's not like they're doing mechanics that make the fight longer. It's not as important, whereas lusting Xav is very important. So we go Xav first. We pull the Arbalest immediately into this mob, Doki GG. This is obviously a pretty tough mob for tanks generally. As a DH, you're going to want to. This is, by the way, this mob is one of the reasons that I played Down in Flames. When you can get this mob, and it's kind of scary if you don't have it. Whenever he does Savage Flurry, you're going to want to have meta or brand up. If you don't have meta or brand, then you kind of need to like pool souls and then do like a fury dump as he's casting Savage Flurry, which is not that easy to set up if you're not like parrying right before that, or if your healer's like ignoring you. So that's why one of the reasons I play Down in Flames in this dungeon. Also, you'll note that we're CCing the Arbalest. We don't want it to cast Jagged Coral when he's about to cast Earth Crush. So that's why we're doing so many CCs. Boom, we CC it again, and then the next Jagged Coral we let go off since it's not overlapping with group damage, and we bop it. We also dwarfed it, but whatever. Also worth noting on this mob, especially relevant for Vengeance Demon Hunter, you can outrange the Savage Flurry. I think I do it in this run. Gonna fast forward a bit. I think the next one is outranged. So yeah, here we go. I'm gonna outrange it, I think. So I wait for him to start the cast. So he starts the cast, right? As soon as if this bar doesn't fill up before you jump away, then he's gonna chase you. So I wait for this first bar to fill up. He starts the cast, he gets a couple hits, and then I jump once this like 4-second channel starts, you can jump away. He doesn't hit me anymore. You can outrange it. Also, I'm also like starting RP, so it's like dual purpose here. Why didn't jump out? Also wanted to like save CDs. Technically, I could have used my last brand, but I wanted to brand the next guy on pull, so that is why I jumped out there. Next, we fight this mob solo. This one's pretty simple. Just dodge, LOS, and don't die to the tank thing. Try to have a cooldown running, blah, blah, blah. After that mob dies, we go to the captain. In this pull, we focus the captain, then we focus an archer, and then even kill, I think, after that. Not too much to it. You do want to be careful as these archers are super deadly while the captain is alive, and you're kind of have to fight them for an extended period of time. Just make sure you use personals. Generally, you kind of want to stun one after like the other one uses coral. So for instance, this archer has wounded or jagged coral up like right now, and this one is up in 4 seconds. So ideally, this would cast jagged coral, and then we would stun this one, so there's no overlap. I think I was like not as good about it in this run. Yeah, I do stun this one here to have less of an overlap. That's why we do that. All right, after this, we are going to skip this mini boss, if you like get up to it before you start RP, and then you can kind of just run through with Stampeding Roar before it spawns. All right, so we're on to Xav. We've less than 130. Basically, that means when everyone is up and Lust is up, we're gonna push the button. This boss is another decent reason to play Down in Flames, although you can fight it without Down in Flames pretty easily. You can take the brutal combo just like, Fury dumping with Soul Cleave with pre-built souls. And you won't die, but I find Down in Flames to be kind of nice against this boss as well. I'm like jumping out of these, but you can also just stay in and take pretty much all of his abilities except maybe like the crushing smash, like the frontal. But you can just stay in with Brand or Meta up and spikes and just keep hitting him, which is what I do later on in the fight. I think I do that once we lust. But yeah, if you are staying in permanently on this boss and you're playing your damage rotation correctly, you can actually do a lot of damage. So I think I end this boss at 1.66 million DPS, which is a lot in my opinion for a boss. Obviously, there is some flag damage in there, which is completely irrelevant. But yeah, also I am playing a relatively high single target build. I do have both damage trinkets, the Pacemaker and the Tomon, the no absorb trinket. After that, we're going to the Cultarok wing. That's because we want to fight Gorechop last for a very specific reason, which we'll go over later. So we're doing the bridge. Obviously, we just run across the bridge like everyone else and pull the Portal Guardian like everyone else. Once I tag the Portal Guardian, I come back to the pack for silence. Once silence is over, I do grip and stun, and then once my stun is over, we beam. That way, if you notice, Soulstorm is casting for 4 more seconds. They're going to get beamed, and then they're going to be still silenced when Soulstorm is ending. That way, there's no overlap with Soulstorm and Bind Souls being cast. Once the beam ends, if they're still alive, we kind of have to like throw random kicks and do like mage stops and DK stops, which is not super consistent on these mobs. So hopefully they do die in the beam. But if they don't die, then this is what happens. We still kind of make it out. Second Soulstorm usually is big personals because healers are like not sure if we're getting the second one all the time. So they're usually not prepared for it. So if you get a second one here, usually you just send the big personals. All right, so next we go left. We do need all of the count here because we're doing an invis skip later. Here it's just, it's a little break pull, just rotate kicks on the soulbinder. Hey, we stop the souls, and that's it. Next, we are doing a double pull with the next Portal Guardian. So there's 1 Magus and 2 soulbinders with this Portal Guardian. If any kicks go off, someone is almost certainly going to die if it happens during Soulstorm. This Magus tends to spam cast, so me and the healer are both assigned to this. We have Mage kick far and DK kick close. So we do all kicks and then pally kicks, and then after the kicks, I do grip into beam. Know that we have beam during Soulstorm, so there's no possibility of anything happening during Soulstorm. After beam, I think we're all going to kick again, and then we're going to silence. BDH Boomy is a pretty nice combo, so okay, I just silenced because I think they were low anyway. Once the Magus dies, by the way, instead of like a 3-kick formation, we're moving to a 2-kick formation, which is like kind of awkward how you have to do that, but that is just how the game is played nowadays. With 2 mobs that you need to kick, it's just kick pairs, right? We have 4 people, so 2 kicks on each. And then we use AoE stops to stall for kicks, is basically how it goes. Once that dies, we move on. We do need both sides here. We're pulling a lot of trash in this area since it's generally considered free. These soulbinders used to be really OP in Shadowlands. They were like unpullable because of a dot that they made, but the dot got removed, so now they're a lot more easy to fight. Pull's pretty simple. Just kick the soulbinder. AoE stop the shackled souls. Once the soulbinder dies, we do pull the other one. I like fighting these one at a time, even though it's a little bit slower. That way, there's no chaos with multiple. Like you can't. I don't think you have enough kicks to stop every single necrotic bolt, which means so a certain amount of quote unquote unavoidable damage would be going out. Whereas if you fight one at a time, all the damage is pretty much avoidable in this pull. When I fight this pull, it's very similar to before. There's 2 mobs, so it's like me and the healer on one, everyone else on the other one, and we have beam and silence to stall. Usually you don't run out of kicks here. Then we are on to Cultarok. This boss is kind of sleeper as DH. You can just take every single mechanic to the face, including the ball, and not care. The one thing that you should pay attention to, especially as Eldrachi, is try and make sure your Fury of the Eldrachi hit is hitting all of these souls. It does a decent amount of funnel damage to the boss thanks to Wounded Quarry. Also, do keep in mind you have Sigil of Chains and Chaos Nova to stall the ads. Chaos Nova is especially decent with Chaos Fragments because you get free souls. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This boss is kind of a sleeper as DH, considering you can just tank the ball. If you couldn't tank the ball, it'd be quite a bit harder. All right, after the boss, we are invis potting. So we are invising past this pull, and that is because if you look at our lust timer, so our last two lusts were Xav himself and the boss, right? And then our third lust is going to be a pull downstairs, which is why we invis pot here. We don't fight this pack. We could. I've seen a lot of groups pull this pack with the bridge pack and lust that. In my opinion, that pull is extremely scary because you have 4 blighted sludge spewers that need to die basically in silence, like Sigil of Silence and Beam, and they also jump out of the beam, so it's like not even that consistent to get the beam. If they survive past all of your CCs, then they're just going to be like spamming bolts and jumping around, which is kind of a difficult pull to play, in my opinion. I have seen groups play it successfully, but this is why we skip it. I don't prefer. I prefer not to play these together. So we invis pot all the way down, and we lust a different pull, which in my opinion is a much better lust. So we're invis potting both of these. I noticed that both patrols are bad, and something that I can do since I'm playing a tank with Shadow Meld is I just pull this away to save our group time. I pull it all the way back here, then my group runs through, and then I jump and meld. If the patrol is good, you don't have to do this, but since our patrol is bad, we do this. And we're lusting the next pull. This pull is actually really nice with Holy Paladin because they have Bop. Most of the danger in this pull comes from like the disgusting refuses all jumping on someone. But if you look at our group, right, we have Paladin, his plates are sanctified, and he's gonna push a wall, so he won't die. He can also bubble, but he doesn't have it right now. Mage has Ice Cold, DK is like Omega Lol, imagine DK dying, and Moonkin, which is actually kind of squishy if he just stands still and cast. But we have Paladin, so we just literally bop him on pull with Lust. And then hopefully by the time like Bop is over and like RCC is like grip into Vortex and Beam and to stun, all the refuses are dead, so our Boomy is no longer at risk of death. So as soon as the Bop ends, he just barks and then, he can't really die anymore. As for kicks, there's 2 of them, so we do like Vortex Beam, so the beam actually gets value, and then throw kicks, and then silence. Then they're pretty much dead after that, especially in Lust. Yeah, I like lusting this pull because it basically usually you can't pull this all at once, and lusting lets you pull it all at once. So you're basically like saving a lot of time by doing that, in my opinion. Anyway, once this pulls over, we move on to Gorechop. So Gorechop is actually very scary for tanks and high keys, and he is another reason that I like to play Down in Flames. Technically, you could survive an 18 with Illuminated Sigils, but again, this is another one of those bosses where you would have to pre-do like you'd have to build souls, and then when Hateful Strike is coming up, you'd have to like start your Frailty Dump. If you mess that up at all, or if you accidentally don't parry one of the trash rolling, or if you get hit by extra damage, then it could easily be cheat or death. Unless of course you play with Oracle Disc Priest, in which case they can just shield you for 30 million before every hit. But yeah, we don't have that. So this pretty much is the boss. There's a very nice weak aura calculating the leap for your range DPS. If you don't have it, it's part of Causese's weak aura package, TWW Dungeons. As a tank on this boss, basically every single Hateful Strike, you're going to want to have a cooldown, as we mentioned before. So I am rotating between like Meta, Brand, and Feldev. And if I don't have it, then I do make sure like I prep the Frailty Dump or ask for sack from the healer. Here I actually do get hit by the bleed, but since I'm I have med up still, it's all good. All right, so that is this boss. DH is actually very good at this boss since you're not really in threat of dying, especially with Down in Flames, and you have pretty good funnel damage with Fear of the Eldrachi and Wounded Quarry on these oozing leftovers. All right, after this dies, we're going to go up. By the way, the reason we go here last is because as this pack is dying, your healer can just leave and go start RP. That way you don't even have to wait for RP, right? You just you're like finishing off this pack while the last boss is spawning, which is another big time save. I think it's one of the reasons we're actually able to time the key with our comp slash our our gear, which isn't that good. This pull is like the same formula as before. It's just grip into vortex and beam, and then all the leapers are dead, and then we silence, and then it's over. Here, our paladin already left to start RP. I think he technically could have started RP a bit earlier here. Like if you notice, the boss is spawning like in 6 seconds, but if the boss was spawned like already, then I could pull it right now. Not the biggest deal. Obviously, we lost like what 2 seconds or something because we miscalculated how fast the pack would die. It's whatever. Also, this pull, by the way, these unyielding contenders are randomly extremely scary, especially for Down in Flames because you don't have as high parry, but they hit the tank really hard. You guys will see here. I have all of them branded, and then I pull the boss, and I still cheat on pull, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Spikes dips for like half a second here, and I cheat instantly. Okay, I re-spikes. Okay, I guess maybe I didn't cheat. I don't know. Okay, I swear I cheated in this run. Okay, I think it's later. Okay, my spikes actually falls off here, but I still have brand, but I'm pretty sure it's a cheat. Okay, maybe I made it up. Maybe I didn't cheat. I don't actually remember what happened, to be honest. I do remember play. Okay, here it is. Look at this. This makes a lot more sense because I actually literally have no mitigation right now. I proc tier set, and then I'm like, oh, I'm in meta. I don't need to use anything. But actually, I really did need to use something. And I did have Feldev technically, so I should have Feldev tier or Cultar Sack at least. But I should have just Feldev tier. Then they all smack me one time. That's a cheat. Holy crap! I didn't cheat the whole dungeon, but it's a good thing I'm playing cheat. Or otherwise, the key is over here. Okay, for these ads with the DH and a Boomy, it's very simple. I'm not playing Cycle, by the way, so I can't change every single one, but I can grip or silence everyone. So I grip into beam. The next one is like silence into my stun, and he could beam that one, but we tend not to use it. So you just alternate grip beam into just your silence. And if they're still alive, he can beam the silence set, but it's not ideal because it might not be up for the next set if you do that. Again, this boss, by the way, another one of those bosses where Down in Flames is pretty sick. You just make sure you have Fiery Brand or Meta up for every single Reaping Scythe. If you do not play Down in Flames, then you'll have to take some without Brand or Meta. And for those, you do have to make sure that you get like the pre-built souls into the Fury Dump, which again is not that easy to, not that convenient to do. Obviously, you can do it for every single one. It's just tedious, in my opinion. When Down in Flames makes it super chill. And that is going to be it for the video. Thank you all for watching. I had a blast doing this key. I hope everyone learned something, and peace out.